All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 420 of the KissFAQ Podcast. 420, what an interesting number to be on here. And Julian's not here with us to enjoy the 420 episode. So for all you smokers out there, this episode's for you. So, first of all, I will be hosting, as you can tell, today. And joining me on this esteemed day of 420, we are going to have Lonnie.
What's up?
Louis Kiss. We have Wheeze Daniel from Sweden.
Hello.
And of course, we have the voice of reason, the man from San Francisco Bay Area, enjoying the heat and the various forest fires that we were talking about earlier, Mr. Ken Keenan. How are you, sir?
Yeah, staying cool.
Very good. So, today we have a few different things to talk about. Last week's episode was a hotbed of discussion. Lots of views. We had a lot of people check out that episode. So first of all, we'd like to thank everybody who watched that episode and made it a pretty, viewed episode for us overall. So again, thank you for the numbers and thank you for your comments. And speaking of comments, we're going to head on over to Daniel, who's decided that it's going to be a good idea to let's point out some comments that were made by viewers. So Daniel, if you may, please entertain us with some comments.
Yeah, I picked a few. There's loads of good comments. And you said we had a lot of viewers last time. Actually, we've gained quite a few subscribers lately. I don't know really why. We've been standing on almost the same amount for a long period of time, and suddenly we got a lot of new subscribers. So I guess you have quite a challenge to go through all of our episodes if you're KissFAQ, because
catch up.
There's some real good ones out there.
I did a quick count. You can actually watch one episode a day for 14 months. So you have your work cut out for you. But over to the comments. I read one a bit longer comment that I thought was kind of cool. It's from In My Head. I think he's got a Kiss podcast himself.
Yes,
I think I've watched it a few times. He wrote like this: I'm seeing some of these for the first time, but man, they take me back to being a kid in the late 70s. See the Houston 76 show, watching the crowd talk and pass doobies before the show, seeing the film crew zoom in on the ladies, and then the excitement just before the show starts. Listening to the Japan 77 show and picking out parts of the music and the crowd that would later be used in Alive 2. This past couple of weeks has been an amazing time for us Kiss fans. Well, we all have to agree with that one, I think. I think he nailed it. And then we have some shorter comments just to pat our backs a bit, our own backs. Atomic, he said, you four guys make a good show always. And I don't know, we have so many shows with the
He hasn't watched all 420 episodes, obviously.
Yeah, he might be a new subscriber, this guy. And then Paul Russell said, interesting discussion, well worth listening, good job, gents. And JJT wrote, in my opinion, Sam Loomis should start doing the convention circuit so everyone can thank him personally. That was kind of funny. Shad Kaufman, Lonnie, wow. Freaking time you do it. I crack up. I love it. Keep it up. And then the metal horns at the end. Keith Powers, you guys just predicted the future. Sam Loomis' channel and his videos are gone. Literally, the day after you said it might happen. Yeah. I've always said Mark is sort of a mind reader. He has some psychic powers. I don't know. He said it, and it happened. Paolo Vincent, well said, Daniel. Hoarders are pathetic. I don't know if I was that harsh, but well, maybe. So there are a few of the great comments from the viewers. Keep them coming, and we'll read some of them next week as well.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Where's the negative comment from the 8-year-olds? where it's marked.
They can't spell, so I couldn't do what they had written.
Yeah.
Missed
They
those.
couldn't get their parents' login.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there
don't
you
think
go.
I don't think they're allowed to be on here legally to leave comments. So
But your audience is
yeah,
on
so that's great. Thank you very much, Daniel, for sharing those. And again, we invite you to leave your comments, and I think in future episodes we'll continue to do this, to dig up some good ones and bring them up, and to show our appreciation of the viewers that are listening to the show. Of course, the very first comment Daniel was talking about, he was referring back to the videos that were dropped on a few weeks back from our good friend there. And as we mentioned, the video channel is now no longer operational. At least his one isn't. So that's sort of a sad thing. But there are other places you can check out these videos, and we'll get to that later. But let's start off with a little bit of a news topic. Now, this is not exactly, I don't think, new news, but I don't think we've really talked about it in any kind of great detail. And it is on my list of topics to discuss. So we have to hit this one first. And that is Mr. Gene Simmons has said that they are adding 100 more shows to the KISS tour. Now, is this Gene just speculating again that they're going to do this? Do you guys think it's going to actually happen, another 100 shows to this tour? And if they do the 100 shows, I'm curious, let's go around the panel here and let's ask this first. Where do you think they're going to do these 100 shows? Let's start with Daniel.
Well, where they will do them, I think they could actually make another trip over here in Europe, because the response they've been getting here is awesome, and they've been selling out left and right. I mean, just in Sweden, they played 2 nights. The first night, 30,000, and the second night, I think it was like 20,000 in 2 different cities. But we only have 3 big cities in Sweden with up somewhere along 1 million inhabitants. So
Yeah.
all the other cities are kind of small. Well, I think they'll do one more show here in Sweden if they do, because 100 dates, that's a lot of dates. How long would it take? Like a year to do it, maybe another year.
Maybe 6 months.
If you think about it, if they did a show every single day, that would still be like 3-4 months pretty much to do that, right? So and they won't do it, and they don't do a show every single day, so that would be spread out to at least 6 months, another 6 months at least, if you think about it.
And I don't know how many times I've been in America or North America during this tour, but there might be some lost cities that they can still perform in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one place that I know that they could probably go to, because I know that they haven't been there very often, is here in Canada. I mean, I don't think that there's been a date here in Toronto for a long time here. I mean, I think it was just when they first started a tour they did something here, so they could easily come back here. In America, we've done a lot of stuff. But before I go on, let's go around more. Lonnie, what do you think?
I could see them adding 100 more dates to this tour. I really could. I don't think it's just Gene spouting off and just pontificating at a whim, because if you think about it, I mean, they didn't tour. They toured very, very little at the beginning of 2020, and it was some smaller markets that they were hitting that they had missed in 2019, and then they came back in 21. Well, they did do Dubai, Ken, if you remember, at the end of 2020. And then they came back in 2021, and they picked up that tour and did some more of those secondary markets. They just kind of picked up that tour where it left off, kind of, for lack of better terms. And so they really haven't hit. Mark, you said, well, they haven't hit Toronto since 19 when they started the tour. I saw them in September of 19 when they came through St. Louis. That's the last time I saw them. And I saw them. I also saw them in Memphis in like February or March of 2019. So it's been a while since I've seen them on this tour, and it's been a while since they've hit a lot of major cities in America on this tour, because what they've been doing is kind of making up for that Lost Cities tour that they were on that got canceled when COVID hit. So I could see them look at themselves and say, you know what? I think there is a market for us to go back and hit these major cities again one more time and cash in one more time before we hang it up. And I think part of it too, they might be looking at what Motley Crue and Def Leppard and Poison are doing, playing stadiums in America, and Gene and Paul's ego might be a little bruised, might be a little jealous that looking at what Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and Poison are doing. And and I've been following that tour as it goes, and those stadiums are legitimately pretty damn full every night. So I think, that's another discussion. Like, what could they do, or what kind of package could they do to do a stadium tour across America? And it would have to be a legitimate package, like what's going on right now. But I think it's very possible that I could see them doing a full-scale major market one more time through on this tour, American tour. And to Daniel's point too, I could see them doing one more time across Europe. They are going to Australia here in November, and I don't see them going back to Australia again. But I could see them hitting major markets in Europe and America one more time. It is KISS, and I know I'm kind of long-winded, but one more thing on this real quick is that in that interview, I think it was Gene, he goes, well, you know what, we've never retired before, so blah, 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 blah. Never retired before? What the hell are you talking about? Talk about revisionist.
Forgot about the farewell tour.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ken. I'm sorry, I kind of rambled there.
No, that's fine. All right. I kind of agree with you guys. I think, probably Doc McGee told him that, gave him the word that, I'm going to get us 100 more dates or something like that. And they're probably going to do it. I'm thinking it's going to be mostly U.S. Dates on cities that they've been to before in the past, but didn't hit on the 3 years they've been doing this tour, because I saw them in Sacramento in 2020, or was it 20? Yeah, 20, and then 19. Was it 19? I'm losing track.
Yeah.
19, 20, and 21. Yeah, I saw them 3 years in a row. So one was Sacramento, then the next year was Oakland, and then the next year was in Mountain View, near San Jose, kind of that way. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they're going to hit some of the other places they've played around here. Either they could do San Francisco still, which they've been away from there forever. I don't know if they could fill the Chase Center or not. Who knows? What I'm hoping is for they'll probably, and this is probably what it's going to be, is mostly going to be smaller. Everyone's seen them on the last few years, so I think they might go to, keep it to smaller amphitheaters and that sort of thing. There's an amphitheater near me here that they've played a number of times, so I'm hoping they come near me, because it's only like 5 minutes drive. So that'd be great. Of course, they could, they did the one in Mountain View, so I don't think they'll hit that one again. So I don't know. I think there's just some smaller cities, kind of like that Lost Cities thing that, Daniel said. They might do something like that.
Interesting. So now let's just do a hypothetical here. If they do decide to do this now, they did do a little minor alteration to their stage, I believe, right, where they kind of modified a few things and took away a few things.
Yeah.
Now, for this to be worthwhile, and I'm going to go around and ask you all this separately, do you think that they simply have to make some sort of revision to this, whether it's with a set list or maybe add something to the stage, or maybe a different effect or something? Otherwise, won't it just be the same show coming around all over again, and you're spending another $100 for the same thing all over again? Do you think that they need to do this? Let's start this time with Lonnie.
$100. That's cheap.
Yeah,
just a number.
You're sitting in the back, Mark?
Yeah, the nosebleeds there.
This is... Do they need to change the set list or change the stage for them to come back around to my city? Hell no, they don't. They've put on the same basic show since the reunion tour. Are you kidding me? And played basically the same songs since the reunion tour. They've changed it up. They changed it up very little. They changed it up for Rock the Nation in 2004, and then just kind of reverted back, to what we've done. Do I see them changing up the set list to go through the stage one more time? Absolutely not. Because, again, if we're going to hit these major markets again, it's been 3 years since we've played these cities. Are people going to remember that set list song for song? No. Just idiots like us that are recording this podcast are going to remember that, that's the same show you played here back in July of 2019. Nobody remembers that. Oh, they want to go and they want to hear the hits. They want to hear Detroit Rock City and Deuce. And, I want to see Dream Breathe Fire. And I want to see Paul Stanley fly across the arena or the amphitheater or wherever they're playing. And I want to hear Rock and Roll All Night. And the whole thing is Kiss knows that. They know that the vast majority really don't care what songs they sing. They want to see the effect. They want to see the vast majority there want to see the effects that they've seen at either previous Kiss shows or want to see the effects that they've seen on YouTube or whatever. That I know Gene breathes the fire and he drools the blood. Most people there don't know or even care to know what song that he does it in front of. Yes, there are the uber fans like us that are going to sit there and analyze it to death. But for the most part, no. And I think Kiss knows that, so they can get away with being lazy and not having to change up the set list.
Interesting. Do you agree, Daniel?
I think in order for this leg to be as successful as the previous one, I think they need to add something else than changing up the set list or, changing a little bit on stage. I had a talk with, I was on a Swedish podcast the other day, and one of the guys, he had a theory. I thought it was kind of fun, but I'm not sure if I agree with him. But he had noticed that Ace Frehley had canceled all of his European dates. Almost at the same time as Gene mentioned the 100 dates. And actually, if you think of it, Ace, if they brought in Ace for a limited amount of time, 100 shows, he goes onto stage and plays Shock Me or something, or he plays Cold Gin or something like that, and then he goes off stage. You have a cool video presentation when he comes on stage with videos from the past behind him, and the crowd goes nuts, and he plays one song, and then he can go back to being lazy. And if that works, maybe they can add, put a few dollars in Bruce Kulick's pocket. He surely will do it as well. Maybe he can come out and play Tears of Fallen. And of course, I don't know about Peter, but maybe. And that was his thought that, well, in order for them to be able to sell out arenas again in Europe, they need to add something more. People will not come in the same amount if they come, like next year. They need to add something, and that was his idea. And come to think of it, I think they would sell out once again if they did that, and they could limit the amount of time for Ace and Bruce on stage. You'd have to pay them, of course, but if you play arenas in Europe or amphitheaters in America, you earn quite a bit more from playing the arenas over here than playing those amphitheaters. So who knows?
So what you're saying, Daniel, is that Europeans are not as gullible or forgetful as Americans, So basically, the European people wouldn't stand for a repeat performance, is what you're trying to tell me here. So
not just the following year. I don't think so. I think they need to add something more. Well, I don't know. Maybe we would. I would at least. But
yeah. Well, hey, no, it's your opinion. It's not wrong, or it's everybody's views on stuff. So, Mr. Keenan, what are your views on this hot topic here?
Other than my question is they keep adding dates. Is Kiss really ending? It seems like it's going on forever. So 100 more dates. It's going to go. Will they get it done this year? I don't know. Is there time to do that amount of dates this year based on where we're at right now? I don't think so.
No.
I think we're talking next year, maybe the first 6 months of next year. So, I don't think Kiss is ending. This is supposed to be the last tour, but the last tour is lasting forever. So, even with or without COVID, it's lasting forever. So, I don't know. I don't think they're ending. The end is not near, as far as I can tell.
It's very interesting though, because it's almost like they're having second thoughts on ending the whole thing, because things are going so good, why stop it? If the gravy train is bringing in the coin, those guys love the cash. But you keep hearing Gene and those guys saying, I can't continue to wear these 50-pound costumes when I'm in my 70s, and I can't continue to. And look at Paul, he's on his last legs. Okay, I mean, I don't know if you guys caught that video where they had like before the concert, like a sound check, and they had some people come out and watch it, and some guy asked him, and he looked really familiar. I'm wondering if it's one of those guys who has this other podcast I watch sometimes. Some guy there asked Paul, what song would he like to add to a set list that they're not currently playing, and he said that he would love to do Nowhere to Run, and they started clapping when he said it, and he started playing it really quickly on guitar, but he didn't dare open his mouth to sing it because he can't sing a word of that song. Okay, so I mean, it's this is the problem here, because I mean, when I said earlier, should they change up their set list and that, they're really much committed to their set list because of the fact that everything has to be pre-recorded, arranged, organized, timed properly. They can't just say, skip this song tonight, guys. Let's do All the Way instead. They can't do that nowadays, So
they could do a Gene song in there.
Yeah,
but they couldn't throw Take Me in there. They could do All the Way. They couldn't do Take Me, or they couldn't do. There's a reason why they haven't done Strutter. Just throw in Strutter. There's a reason why they haven't done it.
Yeah,
they're not able to.
Very
Creatures
true.
of the Night, or whatever.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I just have to say, when you're watching Kiss for what you're thinking is the last time, I had no problem with the set list. I really didn't want none of those deep cuts. I wanted the classic songs. I was surprised by it myself that I enjoyed it so much. But I wanted to hear Heavens on Fire. I wanted to hear Deuce and all the rest of it.
You didn't want to hear Lonely as the Hunter?
Or Fits Like a Glove?
Fits Like a... I
would
heard
have liked that.
I would have liked that. That's true. But when it comes to being the last and final show, I don't want a whole lot of obscure songs. I was surprised myself, but I felt that this was almost a perfect set list. I could have done without the songs from songs. What is it? From Sonic Boom.
Sonic
Yeah,
Boom.
Say Yeah, yeah.
Say Yeah. They could have
That
switched
was
out
kind of a low point, but
yeah.
Interesting.
Sure.
Okay, so let's move on to something different here now, just for a minute. We were talking obviously last week about the whole, videos that came out there with Mr. Loomis and how his channels have shut down. So, as we all know, there are other people who have other channels who have been popping up some of these videos on their channels. I've been noticing, like the 75 show that was on when he first popped up. The Cobo Hall encores have popped up elsewhere. A lot of the show stuff has popped up elsewhere. Not so much some of the, like the backstage footage of the video making and stuff like that hasn't really shown in spots, but a lot of the stuff that he put up has appeared. Just speaking hypothetically, because this is, we don't have any idea about this guy and what he's doing, but do you really think this is the end of the leakage? Do you think they'll maybe, with a little bit of time, let the kind of, let everything kind of die down a little bit, and then all of a sudden one morning we might come on and see that there's something else leaked under a new name by somebody who's, suddenly has some new videos to pop up? Let's go to Ken this time. Do you think that there'll be a reintroduction of these kind of videos?
It's possible. I mean, right now it's so quiet. It seems like it may not happen, but it may. He may, or someone may find an outlet to release them other than YouTube, possibly somewhere where they can't get it forced down. Maybe or they will come out on another page and somehow. Or create a new ID, another Halloween movie inspired name like Mike Myers or something like that, and and release them again. But it's obviously right now it's like we're seeing some pop up, the ones that already came out and people have recorded pop up on like Podcast, Facebook page. And other stuff like that. So, it could still happen. I'm hoping. This is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping the guy's still pissed, and wants to release it. He's just kind of like you said, letting the dust settle, and kind of orchestrating, planning his attack for when he's gonna upload these things somewhere. That's what I hope. Because the fans deserve to see the darn things, in my opinion. But.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, what do you think?
I'm hoping it's not the end. I don't think it's even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Let's hope for that. That's some Winston Churchill for you. Classic quote from Winston Churchill, Second World War. It actually goes for that quote suits the end of the road tour perfectly. This might be the end of the beginning. Yeah. But I think two things. First of all, does this Sam Loomis guy feel that he's made his point? That he's made the other guy butthurt enough? So he feels it, So he has made his point. If he feels like that, I don't think he will release that much more. But if he feels like he wants this guy to suffer a bit more, he might wait and let things calm down, and then he goes for the jugular once again, and makes his point again. On the second thing is he's got such a positive response from the Kiss Army. So that might affect him one way or the other. And it might also affect other Kiss hoarders. At least I'm hoping. Maybe I'm going a little bit too much Ken now with the positivity here. But I'm actually hoping. I'm actually hoping that other hoarders get their mind straight. Yeah.
Other Robin Hoods.
And understand that why am I hoarding this stuff? I mean, it's actually for the Kiss Army. If I bring this to them, I will become a hero of sorts. Maybe I don't even have to be anonymous. I can just say, I've changed my mind, I was wrong, and here you go. But we'll see.
Interesting. Lonnie?
No, I don't think it's over yet. People who are emotionally distraught about something or angry about something, that doesn't go away very easily, especially if they get slapped on the wrist. Usually that only infuriates someone even more.
Fuels the fire.
Correct. So my prediction is that we're biding our time, and patience is often the best revenge. To just bide your time and wait to strike. And and I think to Ken's point, maybe we pop up in the future, maybe under the name Jamie Lee Curtis or something like that, or something else, and then all of a sudden, from a different IP address, from a different state even, or something like that all under a different username and a different IP address from a different state, that we can't link one to the other. I don't think it's over. I think that Mr. Loomis was burned and was double crossed And things like that don't go away from a slap on the wrist.
Very good points there. I think that there's some valid thinking in there, some very deep logic in that comment. So I applaud you there, Lonnie, with that. That's a very well thought out answer to that. The thing with this that I'm finding interesting is that right when he started dropping stuff, like the last thing that I saw was the Cadillac, Michigan footage that he put up last.
Yeah.
And I was just about to go and see, as I saw it pop up, like, okay, after breakfast I'm gonna check it out, and then bam, it was gone. I was like, shit, I didn't get to see it, right? But at that point now, it was starting to feel like he's gonna get into some really obscure stuff. Did you guys get the feeling that maybe now he was gonna drop another like bomb, like a really big one that we weren't expecting, like maybe like the concert from the Cadillac that they did inside the school or something? Like, do you think somebody has that actual footage in their collection? Let's go to Lonnie back on that one.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that, that could have been leading up to something. Like Cadillac footage is very sought out, is a very holy grail type of show. And according to everything we heard, as this stuff was being put up, like, well, this isn't it, and I heard reports like, well, this isn't nearly close to being it. Like this could be just the beginning of what is coming out. So, it's interesting and it's interesting, and it's like hopeful to think like, what else could there be?
Yeah.
Like a Largo 75, the encores from Cobo Hall, the Houston 76 stuff that we saw. It's interesting what else could be out there. I mean, the asylum stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff that was just blowing our minds on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times in the same day. And it was showing no signs of slowing down until all of a sudden it was gone.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel like, there's good stuff out there, and there's holy grail type stuff still out there.
Yeah. Do you agree, Ken?
Yeah, I think there is other holy grail stuff out there, definitely. I think I saw the Cadillac one when it dropped. I kind of was going through it really quick, kind of thing, jumping through it, and I can't remember. Did I see some live footage in that? I know I saw live footage of them playing on stage. It was short. It wasn't like a full concert or anything, but I believe that was in there, unless I'm thinking of something else that was uploaded at that same time. But I swear it was some live footage of Kiss on, playing at, Cadillac. So I thought, wow, so that is a holy grail kind of thing. I just hope, and even the original person who owns these videos, I guess owns, whatever.
Lack of better term.
You're not getting any younger. We're not getting any younger. Maybe you should be the one to, release them and drop them out. Become the hero or whatever you want to call it. Because I mean, I don't think you're gonna make, if you're trying to monetize it, I really don't think you're gonna make a ton of money. Is it really worth it? And taking it to your grave.
Exactly.
Or who knows what the plan is, but I just think it at this point, we're getting so far, 50 years of Kiss, whatever. Something's got to be done. Something should be released.
Something's got to give, man.
Something's got to give.
Yeah. Do you agree, Daniel?
You guys talked a lot about the older material. Lonnie mentioned Asylum. I'm actually looking forward to getting some more revenge stuff, since that show they shot, I think, 3 nights for Alive 3, so there should be at least 2 more concerts. I don't know how much they shot, if it was just single camera or a pro shot, but I was really surprised to see that Largo 92 concert. I had no idea it existed and I thought I knew quite a bit about the revenge bootlegs and stuff. I had no idea that that one was around. And you see, a lot of the stuff that Loomis put up was from that documentary they did last year, the A&A documentary, or whatever it was called. What was the name of that one? Yeah. And one show that Loomis didn't release that was shown on that documentary was a mint copy of Tokyo 95. It's just a single camera, but it's really crisp picture. And we all know the sound from Tokyo 95 is great. There is a soundboard, has been floating around for decades. So put that together with the video, combine the audio with the video and release that. That would be awesome to see. So I'm really hoping that this is just a pause that Loomis has done, because we need to catch our breath, so to speak. It was kind of overwhelming. You know, I remember Ken said, well, from last week, we have 13 new videos released. I mean, 13 videos, there are gems, all of them almost. I mean, it's a lot to take in. So I actually appreciate that Loomis gave us a little bit of a pause so we can digest these videos properly and give them the time that they deserve. And then it can start over again.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I mean, it was getting at one point overwhelming, even for me. Like, I mean, I remember I would get up in the morning, there's like 3-4 other videos, and I still hadn't even caught up on the other ones that were put up before. And I'm trying to catch up and watch them because they're not like 9-minute videos. Some of these are like 45 minutes, an hour long. So it's not like you can just sit down and watch them and 10 minutes later you're done. You have to actually put some time into it to watch some of these things. So excellent point. So I'm curious to see down the line in future episodes, you know, if we'll be talking about some new dropped videos that come up. Now, with that said, I saw a topic here in our list of things to discuss that really caught my attention for numerous reasons. So I wanted to bring this one up with you guys, and I think Ken might have a little chuckle on this one, and he'll know why in a minute when I start talking about it. The idea of the topic was, does Kiss deserve a Mofi treatment of a record? Now, the reason why I'm kind of laughing at that is because I'm not sure how much you guys have been following this, but there's been a huge kerfuffle in the vinyl community world about Mofi records, because Mofi records claim to be everything that we do is taken from the original analog tapes, and we stamp it, lacquer it, and stamp it, and we put it out, and it's like the original analog tape versions. And it just came out a few days ago that since from 2015 or even earlier, they've been using nothing but digital copies of this and hadn't used analog for years. So this has been a big brouhaha amongst the vinyl community. Now, the Mofi end of things is supposed to be, like a really top-notch, crystal clear, analog sounding treatment of a record. If you guys would want a record like that done by Mofi, what album do you think would be worthy of this sort of a treatment from the Kiss catalog? Let's start with Daniel on this one. What kind of record do you think would be worthy of this?
Well, actually, I'm pretty pleased with the sound of a lot of the records. But the early ones, I don't know, especially Harder Than Hell sounds kind of dated. So if they could do something with Harder Than Hell in order to make it a bit more, make the instruments come forward a bit more and a bit more crisp, that could be a good idea. The first album as well, I don't like the production of that one. I don't know how much they can do. But of course, I would like to hear some of my favorite albums in crisp quality, like Rock and Roll Over or Revenge. I think that's perfect as it is. But maybe Animalize or Asylum, do something with those as well. Would be really cool. But on the other hand, I would rather take a bootleg concert from the Revenge tour or something like that if I would have to pick.
Interesting. Ken, what about you?
Yeah, it would be nice, even though if they do it digital, whatever. If they make it sound better or equal to the original, then I'm all for it, doing it. Because, for instance, the very first album is it sounds good. on the represses and stuff like that, or even the one, the 2014 vinyl. It sounds pretty good. I admit it, but it's a little compressed. The original white label promo copy just kills that copy of 2014. It's so much better. So if you can find original releases of these Kiss albums, are going to be first pressings. They're going to be pretty much the best. But there is a case where like Daniel says, Hotter Than Hell. But Hotter Than Hell would have to be probably, if they had all the tapes and the whatever, they would have to remix the darn thing, because that thing is just so
muddy.
It's muddy. And what these guys say on Mofi, they said they listen to the original releases and maybe some other releases, and they try to do the best to recapture that same original best sound of a vinyl when they do the new release. They try to match it if they can, or maybe improve on it, which they've done in some cases. So as for which album I'd want them to do, I wouldn't mind them doing something like we have half speed of some things. I wouldn't mind a good rock and roll over, a nice rock and roll over release. There's other ones too. I wouldn't be pissed off about any of them doing any of them, but rock and roll over is one I'd pick for now.
Interesting. Lonnie?
Who are we kidding? If they were to do this, what album they would choose.
Destroyer.
Oh.
Destroyer. That is the test album for everything. It was a test album for colored vinyl several years ago. It was the test album for any kind of deluxe album release. If they were to do this, 100% it would be Destroyer. Period. End of discussion.
You're probably right.
Yeah. That's probably true. As for me, I think I kind of lean towards sort of what both Ken and Daniel were saying in terms of that the very first record, while it's a gem as far as great songs on that album, but the production of it is a little flat. They can't do anything about the tempos. They are a little slow in that album compared to the live versions. But, a good kind of remaster done by a company like Mofi, which, I know it's a tricky thing to talk about now, but they can take something like that and give the drums a bit more oomph. They can give the guitars a little bit more sheen. They can give the bass guitar a little bit more thump to it. So they can take those elements and improve on them for sure. So the two records that I would love to see get done a Mofi treatment would be the first album, and this might be an odd pick, but I'd love to see them do Unmasked, because Unmasked is a record that I think that kind of fell flat again, similarly to the first record. There's some great songs on that album, but I think it just fell flat from an uninspired mix and a sort of flat mastering. So if it got a little bit more shine to it and a little bit more oomph in the bottom end, I think that could be a really, really standout record. So I think that would be an interesting thing to think about. Whether it happens or not, with Kiss, this is all wishful thinking on our end. For Kiss to do something, it takes usually 10 years, and they're usually behind 5 years of everybody else when they're doing it. So you never know. Maybe it's going to take a couple of other bands to do a Mofi, and then 5 years later they'll do one. So another topic that's interesting that I wanted to bring up, and it's interesting because this kind of a question has been asked before, containing another person, but we never really talked about this with this guy. The question is, did Bruce Kulick save Kiss? Now, we always talk about, did Vinnie Vincent save Kiss and blah, 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 blah. But let's take a look at this, for example. Did Bruce Kulick save Kiss? Now, I'm just going to give my quick little response to this. I think that, in a way, I really think he did. Because if you think about it, they lost Ace. They got in, Vinny. It didn't go well with Vinny. They got in Mark St. John. That didn't go well either. So, it was getting to the point where if the next guy they got in didn't do good, they were probably get frustrated and who knows what could have happened. They probably said, you know what, screw this. I'm sick of looking for guitar players. Maybe the Kiss fans would be like sick of hearing that they're having another guitar player. I think that the stability that Bruce brought to the band really saved their butt. I think, they did some great tours after that, some great records. I know I'm going to get no argument from Lonnie when I say that Revenge ended up being a fantastic record, some of his best playing that he's ever done, and a tour that we're still talking about to this day that they did with that band and that lineup. So, Bruce was a huge part of that. So let's go around the table again with that. What do you think, Lonnie? Yes?
I think that's really interesting that Bruce Kulick saved Kiss. We always hear, like you said, Mark, other arguments. But yeah, Bruce brought some stability to the band when they really needed it. When we have a different guitar player for every album, it seemed like for several years, and in a time of crisis when Mark St. John couldn't tour, Bruce stepped in and saved him immediately, starting with the Animalize tour. Saved him right away. Had Bruce not been able to do that, what were their other options at that point? Was it to go back to Vinny and say, hey, we're sorry? I guess that was an option on the table, maybe not a large option on the table, but it probably was something that did cross their mind at the time. I don't know, I wasn't in the room. But going from Ace to Vinny to Mark and then Bruce and I'm sure that Gene and Paul are looking at each other like, gosh, I hope this works out. That we're going to bring Bruce in to do Asylum, and then it probably had to have been very refreshing that we brought him back for Crazy Nights. We found our guy after years and years of looking. We found our guy. He's talented. He's he's not a head case. I think he did bring. I think that's an excellent point, and it's something that doesn't get brought up very often. That he did bring some stability to the band in a time where they were just flopping guitars and flopping rotations, and they could finally say, hey, this is Kiss. This is the unmasked Kiss. Here we are.
Interesting.
So what do you think there, Ken?
Yeah, I agree with Lonnie. He was the right guy at the right time, and like Lonnie said, he created or made the band stable through the whole unmasked era. So just a great guy, great team player kind of guy, just a great guy in general, and a great guitar player. So all those check boxes are marked, and it was the right choice at that time. If they didn't get him, who knows what had happened. They could have been going through a couple more guitarists, and who knows what would have happened to them or the music and the music itself. They, like I think Mark said, they might have just hung it up and said forget it. Then 89 comes and Paul does his solo tour and then stays solo and Kiss is done. Otherwise, after that, the only thing that saved Kiss is the makeup in '96, and it's been saving them, I think, through the rest, up until now. So, yeah, I definitely think Bruce Kulick saved Kiss through the '80s, definitely.
Awesome, good points there. What about you, there, Daniel?
Well, a lot of great points from you guys. There's not a whole lot to add. I think it was important. I think Kiss learned from their mistakes. They had problems with Ace. They couldn't count on him. He was late. He was a bit lazy. He had problems with different kinds of substances. Same goes for Peter. Vinnie Vincent and Mark St. John, it seems, was two head cases. They were kind of out there, a bit crazy. So they must have sat down and thought, what do we need? We need someone who is loyal, a musician. He can play well, as Winnie could, but he lacked in other areas. And also no ego. That was a big thing for Kiss, I think.
Yes.
We need to find someone with no ego. So Bruce, to me, he was actually the template for later when they went for Eric Singer, no ego, loyal musician. And the same thing with Tommy Thayer, pretty good musically, loyal and no ego. So Bruce actually was the template. They understood that this is the type of guy we need in this band. We can't have 3 stars. There's only room for 2 in this band, as there are in most bands. Joe Perry and Adler and so on. You often have 2 guys, Jagger and
Richards.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they finally understood that they didn't need a flashy guitar player that stood in front of Paul and played long solos. They needed a loyal guy with no ego, and that's what they got. Even though I at times thought he lacked a bit on stage and so on, not the playing, but the performing part. But I could live with that, but because Paul and Gene, they ran around all the time, so it didn't matter that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great points. Very well thought out. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys one last question for today's episode, and this one kind of hit me from all the things that we were talking about here. So we're going to close off our show with this last question. I'm very curious to hear you guys' response to this. So we were just talking earlier about the 100 dates that they added, and we kind of hit upon, are they really going to end this? I mean, it seems like they're going to keep going on and touring and touring and touring. So that brought up a question in my mind. This infamous last show that they talked about since the very beginning of the whole end of the road tour, we're going to do one final last big show, whether it's going to be, in New York somewhere or going to be, at Central Park or whatever. Do you think that they haven't properly announced this final show yet because they don't really want to do it and keep touring? Or do you just think that it's just not something that they have enough information yet? Because there's always that hint of Ace, can he come and play at the last show? Or could we get Peter in? Or, what can we do to make this special? Do you think that they're not pulling the trigger on the final concert because they just don't want to end it? Or do you just think that's because they still have to go through some legalese to get this done? Let's start with Ken.
Yeah, legal stuff. It could be that. They could be trying to, Kiss lawyers talking to Peter's lawyers and Ace's lawyers, and they want all this money just to perform the last show, whenever that may be. Yes, Paul keeps saying it's going to be in New York, which is the obvious place to do it. But I don't think it's been settled on where in New York. And it depends. And I think that depends on, if you can get Peter and Ace back for a couple, the encore or whatever, and get Bruce there, and who am I missing? Well, I don't know if they're gonna get Vinny, but I think there may be negotiations, and they just it's just extend this out and keep trying to work at figuring out this last date and see if we can get those guys. Because if they don't get those guys, it's not going to be a big shebang or whatever. They need them, and I think Ace and Peter know that, to really go out with that one huge last show that they want to do. And so there may be want a lot of money. Just give it to them. Gosh, how much more money do you need? Just give it to them. Let them. I mean, unless they're asking some stupid, outrageous number, of course. Just give them money. Let's get it over with. Just do it. Have a big party and celebrate Kiss.
Exactly. Daniel, what do you think?
I think it depends a bit on how these final 100 shows work out for them. I don't think the final show of those 100 will be the last one. I actually think they will do a final show that's separate from the tour. I mean, they've always said that this is the end of the touring, the end of Kiss touring. hinting that they might do more stuff. So I think they will do this tour and then start looking at where can we do a final last hooray. Obviously, it will be in New York, I think. If they don't get a big offer from Dubai or something like that from the Middle East, they could go over there and do just for the money. That wouldn't be good, but they can go back to the Middle East because those boys are sitting on some good oil money that they can give to Kiss. So I wouldn't want that to happen, but I'm just saying it could happen. This is Kiss. This is about money. But I'm hoping it will be in New York, but I think it will be separate from the tour.
Interesting. Lonnie?
I think they will do these dates and play them out. And it's interesting because we never did get there was speculation about this 20 years ago. When will be when or where will be the final Kiss tour, the final Kiss show, and we never got it. And we kind of sat around for a couple of years, and then we're going to do this symphony, and guess what? We're touring with Aerosmith this summer. We're back. Okay. I don't know if we will ever get that big final Kiss show that everyone is clamoring for. Paul said the other day, things are going too good, why end it right now? You said that 20 years ago. You said the same thing 20 years ago. Why end it right now? Things are going so good. Really? Are they? I mean, I know your attendance is great, but we're a shell of what we once were with the discussion we had earlier about not being able to change the set list and this and that. I mean, but I think that they're going to keep going as long as people keep coming.
Yeah.
And I really do. Or as long as people keep coming and as long as they're physically able to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will get it.
I think that's an excellent point. And it's kind of a scary thing to think about because if they're not going to commit to it, then I think you could be right. I mean, this could just keep going on and on. They could find another excuse. We forgot this region. We forgot these 15 cities that we played back in the 70s. We missed them. There's going to be some
I met this guy at a car wash last week, and he wanted to know when the next tour was. So I said, I guess I better get going on that.
Exactly. So it's interesting. We live in an interesting world with Kiss in it. It just always seems like once you think this is going to be done, something else happens and we got something else going on. There's another cruise or there's another this and there's another that. Is it ever going to end? Who knows? Or maybe they'll do another Las Vegas thing after it's all done. Who knows? With Kiss, you never know what'll happen with them. But let's end it on that note. We had some interesting discussions today about many different topics. We of course are looking to see what you guys out there think. Do you think this tour will ever end? Does Kiss deserve a Mofi treatment to an album? And did Bruce Kulick save Kiss in the 80s? We want to hear your thoughts so that we can have Daniel read some more fantastic comments that you guys leave us and talk about it on future episodes. So let's leave it at that. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Lonnie, Ken, and Daniel, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys all next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.